With a claimed 17 stops of dynamic range, an all-new D-Log M curve, and a mid-telephoto lens, its appearance had already been leaked online several months ago. DJI even released its official trailer around the same time the Pocket 4 launched, and everyone has been waiting ever since. With competition in handheld gimbal cameras getting increasingly fierce, what kind of device will DJI actually roll out this time? I know you can't wait any longer. So without further ado, what you're seeing right now is the highly anticipated If the Pocket 4's upgrade is a further refinement built on the Pocket 3's success, then the Pocket 4P's upgrade, in my view, redefines the very concept of the Pocket as a handheld gimbal camera. First is its lens module. DJI has adopted a top and bottom layout design made up of a 60mm mid-telephoto lens and a 20mm wide-angle lens, basically covering the most commonly used focal lengths. Not sure if you'll like this look. This time, the Pocket 4P gets an upgraded color lineup. Besides the familiar black version, there's also a new pearlescent white option. And in hand, because the Pocket 4P has a larger lens module, you'll feel the extra heft the first time you pick it up. Let's do a simple comparison. Pocket 4 weighs 190.5 grams, while Pocket 4P comes in at 230 grams, so it definitely feels different in the hand. I'm guessing a lot of people are curious. With such a large lens module, how does it store away? Pocket 4P doesn't use Pocket 3's all-in-one storage, nor does it use Pocket 4's clip-style storage. Instead, it's extremely large and relies on this 3-axis gimbal to self-lock, so when it's powered off, the lens won't wobble like before if you just nudge it. The lens also uses a sliding latch design that offers a bit of protection, definitely worth praising. DJI put in that much effort and increased the weight of the lens module for one purpose only. Now let's take a good look at just how the Pocket 4P's image quality really is, if you ever.
Songs that really talk about it. Since I finally found you, it's no surprise. If you find that you truly need to open up, then you're absolutely right.
I originally thought the main camera on the Pox P would continue using that new sensor from the Pocket 4, but he once said, no, we pulled off something big. Not only did we switch to a brand new 1-inch sensor, we also pushed its dynamic range up to 17 stops. To give a simple example, the dynamic range of a typical mirrorless camera is usually around 13 to 15 stops, while some professional cinema cameras can reach 16 to 17 stops. This means the Poke 4P has extremely high latitude, even though it uses a 1-inch sensor. With the support of Lovic technology, you'll find that footage shot on the Pocket 4P's main camera really can go toe-to-toe with some cameras when it comes to preserving detail in both highlights and shadows. Especially when you're taking a selfie, with DJI's color tuning, boosting brightness specifically for facial skin tones, you can capture the person well while also preserving the details of the scenery in the background. Especially when it comes to automatic white balance tuning, I think DJI is already very mature. We also ran portrait tests in scenes with different and complex lighting, and everyone's on Poke 4P can balance facial skin tone and brightness very well. In some relatively dim night scenes, you can also use this small fill light to add light, and the overall effect is still pretty good. Take a look at the side-by-side comparison with the fill light on and off. Also, we tested the Pocket 4P's night scene image quality in an actual nighttime environment. First up is its low light video. It still can only shoot 4K at 30 FPS, but thanks to the new technology, the Pocket 4P's control of flare and ghosting has been further improved overall. And in darker environments, its shadow detail and image noise are handled as well. Personally, I think the control is pretty good. You won't see that kind of extremely exaggerated noise. In addition, DJI has developed a brand new 2 curve for this sensor. According to the official information, the 2 curve is shifted upward overall, with optimization focused on the mid to high brightness range that's most commonly used in shooting. In our real-world tests, D-Log 2 demonstrated this very well in high-contrast scenes. The footage was shot a little after 1 p.m. under the blazing sun at 29 degrees. And whether it was the sky or the ground, both highlight and shadow detail were preserved very well. And DJI not only provides a basic conversion for the D-Log 2 curve, but the Alutes also include an additional one that can convert to ARRI-Log C4. This means that in post-production, you can apply a lot of ARRI-related LUTs available on the market. And thanks to DJI's tuning of this curve, the D-Log 2 footage shot on the Pocket 4P can now be matched to the flat footage shot on our camera, so the consistency in color grading during post is very high. And when we tilt the view upward, you can clearly see the small trident text. Yes, anyone who's used the Pocket 3 knows that one of its biggest regrets is that it doesn't have a medium telephoto lens, although the Pocket 4, by increasing the pixel count, has lossless zoom. But we've always wanted a truly physical, optical medium telephoto lens. And now DJI has added a 60mm medium telephoto lens with a 1.28-inch sensor and an f1.8 aperture. They squeezed it in, and paired with this 3-axis gimbal, you can capture footage like this. I have to say, with the compression of a 60mm medium telephoto focal length, some shots that are usually very hard to capture can now be quickly caught with just a light press. And thanks to DJI's 3-axis gimbal design, you can get a very stable image with just one hand. Plus DJI's intelligent tracking, the 8.0's current telephoto tracking performance is genuinely surprising, and even beginners can easily pull off large, sweeping camera movements. I think this focal length choice really hits a sweet spot. Not too far, not too close, right in that golden portrait range. Shooting people at this distance keeps the viewer's attention on the subject, and the background gets a more compressed look. Paired with simple camera movement, it delivers that distinctive image texture you get from a mid-telephoto. Also, this 60mm mid-telephoto has a 0.3-meter minimum focusing distance, so using it to capture certain details can lead to some really interesting results. With a proper optical bokeh effect added in, it unlocks even more ways to shoot with a mid-telephoto lens. Also, in photo mode, both of these lenses can shoot photos at up to 37 megapixels. And especially with the compression from the mid-telephoto lens, you've got to admit the optical background blur actually looks really nice. In the Pocket 4P's live photo mode, whether it's the wide angle or the mid-telephoto lens, you can easily capture very high quality, textured looking images because a live photo is essentially a short video clip. So when you shoot with it, the image quality is true 4K, and especially for selfies, its sharpness and depth of field blur are both significantly better than a phone's front-facing camera. If there's anything to regret about the Pocket 4P, I think the video specs could maybe be improved just a bit further. Right now, both lenses on the Pocket 4P support 10-bit D-Log shooting with very solid dynamic range overall. The main camera can shoot up to 4K at 240 FPS, and the mid-tele lens can shoot 4K at 200 FPS. With this kind of ultra-high frame rate recording, the visual impact is truly stunning. Maybe it's because of their earlier spec upgrades, but it really makes me feel like DJI has squeezed out everything they possibly could, so under normal settings it's still 4K 60. Although that's totally enough for everyday shooting, I still think DJI could take it a step further to 6K or 8K, and I hope they can enable that later through firmware. Then, the Poke 4P's performance is even more unleashed. In other areas, the DJI Pop 4P still does exceptionally well. Whether it's beauty tweaks or film-style color tones, it's very friendly for people who want great straight-out-of-camera results. You can also drop the shutter speed and, with the built-in filters, capture an atmospheric look with flowing light and shadows. For audio, besides spatial audio, it also offers zoom audio pickup that adjusts with the shot distance. You can hear the results in wide-angle and mid-tele. This is the wide-angle selfie audio now. What do you think? It's now at 11x zoom on the mid-telephoto end. What do you think? And with memory prices soaring right now, Poke 4P still comes with 103GB of built-in storage. If you're just doing basic recording, you don't really need to buy a card separately. You can start shooting straight out of the box. For transfer speeds like Pocket 4, it supports Wi-Fi 6 and USB 3.1. Wireless transfer can hit up to 90 MB/s, and wired transfer is about 800 MB/s, so it's still very fast. Hopefully the Pocket 4P is the same as the Pocket 4. Both use a 1545 mAh battery. Shooting for most of the day will use about 60% of the battery, and it will also generate some heat, so I'd recommend pairing it with a battery extension handle. That should basically be enough to hold up for a full day of shooting. At this point, we've basically covered almost everything about the Pocket 4P. Thinking back, the first time I came across Poke was when DJI had only released up to Pocket 2. Its screen was small, it ran hot, and it was like this little gadget that looked kind of interesting. It was fun, but not very practical. Then a year or two later, the Poke 3 arrived with a brand new screen and a 1-inch sensor. It redefined how vlogs are shot, and its unprecedented sales also proved its strength. At the same time, people started wondering how DJI would carry on the Poke 3's success next. It was a 3-year wait. If Pocket 4 was a continued refinement based on Pocket 3's answer, then Pocket 4P delivered a new answer under everyone's watchful eyes. A brand new dual-tone, multifocal length sensor and ultra-high dynamic range, these are key innovations of the Pocket 4P. But what's really interesting is that it's not called Pro, but P. In fact, as early as last year, rumors online said the Pocket 4P would feature a dual camera setup. Back then, many people assumed this was mainly for pros with a clear learning curve. But now, Pocket 4P has not only greatly strengthened its pro features, pushing what pros can do even further, but also, to a large extent, lowered the barrier to entry. He didn't improve image quality just to cater to beginners, and he didn't make it harder to use just to stack specs. Regular people can pick it up and shoot casually, and it'll look like a high-quality cinematic film. Pro creators can also use it to unlock more creative options. I think that might be what the P in Pocket 4P stands for. That's where the real substance is. All right, that's everything for this episode's video. Would you buy a Pocket 4P? Feel free to have a friendly discussion in the comments. And of course, don't forget to like, favorite, share, and give us a big follow. This is really very important to us. I'm Keep Zero. See you next time.